Let's talk about Claymore. Claymore is a shonen fantasy manga series written and illustrated by Norihiro Yagi, and it was serialized from 2001 to 2014 in Jump Square. Now, this was a series that I was really looking forward to reading. If you remember, I picked up the box set last summer. I heard some great things about it, and here I am finally to give you my thoughts on it. The wonderful world of Claymore takes place on an unnamed continent that is ravaged by creatures known as Yoma. Now, the Yoma are powerful monsters that feast on human flesh, and once they eat a human, they can actually take their appearance and regain all of that human's past memories. Now, they use these powers to chill with the other humans, so they can, you know, go eat some whenever they please, and no one will notice. As you would imagine, this doesn't bode very well for the human race, so a mysterious organization creates a new type of warrior to fight them. These female soldiers were born human, but they were fused together with Yoma flesh. This lets them retain human consciousness, however, their abilities are enhanced and they have the power to fight the Yoma. Their job is to go from town to town defeating any Yoma that are reported in exchange for money that they give to the organization. Now, these warriors don't have official names, but they are widely referred to as either Claymores due to the giant claymore swords they carry, or silver-eyed witches due to their silver eyes and hair. The risky thing about being a Claymore, though, is that if you use too much of your Yoma energy in battle, you awaken. This is when the Yoma part of your body completely takes over, you lose all human consciousness and become a flesh-eating monster. However, the awakened Yomas are much more powerful and dangerous than the regular ones, and one usually requires multiple warriors to take down. Because of this, if a warrior senses that she is about to awaken, she will request one of her other comrades to execute her before that happens. Oh yeah, fun shit here. Our protagonist Claire is one of these warriors, and the story begins with her going from town to town, going about her business as a silver-eyed witch. Eventually she comes to a town where she meets this young boy named Rocky, whose entire family was devoured by Yomas. With nowhere for him to go, she decides to take him in, and the two begin traveling together and develop a strong friendship. Crap goes down though. A lot of awakened Yomas start appearing out of nowhere, and the organization seems to be assigning missions to warriors that are extremely difficult and have very little chance of survival. Now, Claire and a few other warriors sort of catch wind on what's going on. They know something isn't right. So they team up to try to put a stop to whatever's going on, while at the same time Claire has to deal with the ghosts from her past that haunt her. And as per usual, I'm not going to say anything else about the story. I know I was a bit vague, but there are a lot of things that happen in this story, especially early on, that can be considered a spoiler, so I don't want to go too much into it. Now, in my opinion, the story was the best part of Claymore, but it still wasn't perfect. There were a few flaws here and there. I really love the introduction to this world, how we learned about the fight with the Claymores versus the Yoma. I loved how it was really mysterious, how no one really knew why this was happening. No one really knows who the organization is. No one knows why the Yoma have appeared. And some of the moments when these big secrets were revealed are some of the best in the entire series. I thought the pacing was really well done, although admittedly there were some parts of the story that were weaker than others. Mainly the parts of the story that don't feature Claire, I didn't really care that much for. I'll talk about that a bit more in the character section though. But yeah, the story was really interesting. It really kept me going. I always wanted to find out what was going to happen, and you know, what plot details were going to be revealed. There were also some very, very cool flashback scenes, although I don't think the manga did that good a job distinguishing the flashback scenes from the actual story. I mean, you'll obviously catch on in a minute, but I don't think there was any text ever indicating that something was a flashback. So it was kind of weird just starting a chapter all confused, like what is going on, and then a few pages later you realize, oh, this is a flashback. Thanks for the heads up. And unfortunately, the ending of this series left a lot to be desired. It didn't feel rushed per se, more so brief. I was 3/4 of the way through the final volume and they were still fighting the final villain. So is this series planning on ending anytime soon? Not that much room left to do that. And the reason I say it leaves a lot to be desired is because there is still a lot we don't learn all that much about. There's a huge plot revelation about halfway through the series, and once you realize it, you're like, well, shit, this series is gonna be huge. This is gonna be friggin' awesome. But it never really gets to that point. It feels like the series could have gone on a lot longer because there was still a lot about this world that hasn't been fully explored. Still a lot of things that they had mentioned that I was hoping to see. And I mean, I get you don't want the series to go on for very long. I mean, it ran for 13 years. But it was just really disappointing when I got to the end and they were like, hey, what about that other thing? And the characters are pretty much just like, you know what, let's not deal with that, let's just end the series. These few things were unfortunate, but overall I still really enjoyed reading Claymore. But if there were ever a chance to see a sequel series to find out everything else about this world, then yo, I'd be down for that. But much like the rest of this series, even these scenes, the ones that weren't as good, had some crazy awesome action scenes. Fight scenes here are friggin' awesome. They're super epic and I absolutely loved reading them. Now going from the strongest point of this series to the weakest point, the characters. Now right off the bat, there are some good things about the characters, mostly Claire, who was friggin' amazing. Claire was just super badass. I loved her character, I love the development she goes through. I love how her character is introduced, I love the backstory we got for her. Her backstory is awesome, and I love how her character arc comes together in the end. The problem isn't with Claire though, the problem is with the many other characters. I've had problems in the past with series like Assassination Classroom where there are just too many characters and the story doesn't give enough time to develop them, so we end up not really caring about them. Unfortunately, Claymore suffers from the same problem. Now don't get me wrong, there are still a few standout minor characters. Characters like Miria and Clarice and Rocky and Priscilla, they were all pretty good characters. But there are just so many characters. Like there are a crap ton of other Claymores that I haven't even mentioned that I'm not going to bring up because it would take me forever. And there's a bunch of organization members and there's a bunch of Yoma monsters. But none of these dozens of characters really stand out to me besides the ones I mentioned. And it sucks because this is a decently long series. It's 27 volumes long. And the only things I really cared about were the things that were happening to the characters that I enjoyed. All these other characters that they're building up as important never really mattered to me at all. Like a character would die and it would be this huge emotional scene because it's a character that's been there from the beginning and I'm like, okay, yeah, they were, but I don't know anything about this character. That's the problem, like a lot of these characters there, it's like, yeah, we're with you, let's fight, we got this. And that's pretty much all they are. Like you have Claire's main squad of the Claymores. The only ones I can remember are Claire and Miria. I might be able to name a few of the others, but if I saw all the characters there, I would not be able to tell who was who, and I would not be able to give like any personality traits of any of these characters. And when all these characters are fighting, while the action scenes look really, really cool, I usually just didn't care what the outcome was. I'd be like, oh, this character's dead. Sucks, I guess. Whenever I got to a part that was just full with characters I don't care about, I was just always eager to finish this part up so I could find out what happens to Claire. Which, like I said before, Claire's story is friggin' terrific. No problems there. Although if they weren't going to develop any of these characters all, I kinda wish that we had gotten more time to spend with Claire. Next up, let's talk about the art. If the story was here and the characters were here, the art is kind of somewhere in the middle. Now, it's always a bit weird talking about art because of how subjective it is, but subjectively, I do not think these character designs are that great. For one, the faces. Oh god, the faces. I don't know what it is about them. They seem sort of like normal faces, but there's something just seems off, and it really annoyed me. Some people might really like it, and you know what, that is perfectly fine. I'm glad that you enjoy the art. I'm glad that you enjoyed these faces, but nope, not for me. Also, you know how I said I wouldn't be able to pick apart all of the different characters? You know, it also doesn't help that their designs are so similar. All of the Claymore warriors are just tall, skinny women who wear the same clothes. The only thing that you can really use to tell them apart are their hairstyles, which could also confuse me sometimes because, you know, there's just so many Claymore warriors. I can't freaking remember which one has the curly hair and which one has the short hair. There were also a few panels that didn't seem as detailed that they could have been. There seemed to be a lot of panels where the background just wasn't there. I know this happens from time to time in manga, but you know, when you have like a full page, it's mostly just like a blank background, kind of loses a bit of atmosphere. I know backgrounds are hard work and they're not always required in every single panel, but with a monthly series like this one, I'm kind of expecting a little bit more. To the mangaka's credit though, I did think the designs for the Awakened Yoma and some of the other more powerful foes we see in this series were really friggin' cool. But now let's talk about the really good part about the art, which is the action scenes, because they look friggin' phenomenal. You got people going crazy with the swords, fighting the Yoma monsters, and all their body parts are getting sliced up, the limbs are being severed all over the place. So many limbs get severed in this series, on both sides. so many limbs are lost. Holy shit. Friggin' tentacles going everywhere and spikes and explosions. So just all around some fancy looking shit. I'm just a bit disappointed that, you know, those faces. So those are my thoughts on Claymore. Unfortunately, it was kind of disappointing. I think I let myself get a bit too hyped for this one, but overall I'm still very glad that I read Claymore and I did enjoy a good bit of it, so I will be giving it my final score of 3.5 Awakened Ones out of 5. If you were interested in checking out Claymore for yourself, the entire series, all 27 volumes, are in print and available from Viz Media. Although 27 individual volumes can be pretty expensive, so I do recommend getting the box set, which has excellent value and is definitely the best way to get a hold of this series. Like always, there was of course an anime adaptation, and like always, I haven't seen it. From what I've read though, it follows the first bit of the manga and then has its own ending, because of course the manga was only halfway finished at the time. I hate it when this happens. Even if a series isn't going to get a second season, I still think it's better to just end it where the manga leaves off so people can go pick up the manga and not get all friggin' confused with these multiple endings. Anyway, that was all I had to say. Thank you guys so much for watching. You can leave your thoughts in the comments below, and with that I will see you guys in my next full series review for Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind.
Wake me up inside. I can't wake me up inside. Save me, call my name and save me from the night. Wake me up with my blood to I can't wake up before I come undone. Save me from the nothing I've become.